Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. This is going to be our continuous look at the exotic Adrian Street. And I believe, Rodney, you've got or just Jack. I think Jack's got the first stuff. And hey, some very good matches with Adrian Street coming up.
April the 1st, 1984, at the Civic Center in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Adrian Street defeated Brian Adidas. Also on the 1st, Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina, Adrian Street defeated Keith Larson. Then on the 2nd, Memorial Auditorium in Greenville, South Carolina, Adrian Street defeated Larry Hamilton. And then on the 3rd, Dorton Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina, Pez Watley defeated Adrian Street by disqualification. And then on April the 6th, at the Norfolk Scope in Norfolk, Virginia, Wahoo McDaniel defeated Adrian Street. April the 8th, Civic Center in Savannah, Georgia, Adrian Street defeated Jay Youngblood. Then on the 9th, Memorial Auditorium in Greenville, South Carolina, Adrian Street defeated Sam Houston. And then on the 16th, at the Civic Center in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Mark Youngblood defeated Adrian Street. And then on the 19th of April, Hampton Roads Coliseum in Hampton, Virginia, Angelo Mosca Jr. defeated Adrian Street. And then on the 20th at Lakeland Civic Center in Lakeland, Florida, Dusty Rhodes and Adrian Street defeated Kevin Sullivan and Buzz Sawyer.
Hey, I got to talk about that just for a second.
Okay.
That is available on YouTube. Have y'all watched this?
No, I didn't.
This match? Well, this match is very interesting because what makes it very interesting is if you look at the next night, Dusty Rhodes is going against Adrian Street at the Greensboro Coliseum, but on the night prior to it, Dusty Rhodes and Adrian Street is teaming to go against Kevin Sullivan by Sawyer. This is the famous golden spike in the chest of Dusty Rhodes. Rodney, you probably don't want to watch this.
Oh, okay.
You probably don't want to see it, but the people went nuts when they did that to Dusty. I mean, they were hot. So I just thought we want to talk a little bit about what that. Jack, go ahead and pick it up.
All right. April the 21st, 1984, Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina, Dusty Rhodes defeated Adrian Street by disqualification. And then on the 29th, Winthrop Coliseum in Rock Hill, South Carolina, Adrian Street defeated Jimmy Valiant by disqualification.
Okay, now this is something else that happened about this time frame. And this is available, and it's hard to find. It's hard to find on YouTube, okay? But Adrian Street is out there doing an interview with Miss Linda, and I'm not for sure. I don't know if it was Bob Cottle. I'm not for sure it was. But here comes Jimmy Valiant out, and he gives Miss Linda. He says he's got 8 old ladies, and he's looking for the 9th one. And he wants to see if Linda was available, and he gives her some flowers and kissed her on it. Well, the very next week, he comes in, he kisses her on the mouth. Well, the 3rd time he comes out there, Adrian Street has got he's talking, and there he comes out and does something again. Well, this time Adrian Street's got a glove full of rocks, and he hits Jimmy Valiant with it and knocks him out, and then they paint them all up and put lipstick all over them. Very interesting stuff. Now, then they have a match with Jimmy Valiant and Adrian Street, and he does it again. He paints his face up again on this television show, and then Jimmy Valiant does an interview, and I think it was with Pez Watley, and the loser of the fall, they had to wear a dress for a month, and and the interview was so good. It was so good the way that he went about it. All right, Jack, or is that Rodney? Whoever picks up.
Yeah, we picked up in May 4th, 1984, at the Hampton Roads Coliseum, Hampton, Virginia. Junkyard Dog defeated Adrian Street. Dorton Arena, Raleigh, North Carolina, on May the 8th, 1984. Adrian Street defeats Rufus R. Jones at the high school in Chester, South Carolina, on May 17th, 1984, Adrian Street versus Johnny Weaver. The Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, on June the 3rd, 1984, Adrian Street versus Tommy Rogers. Civic Center, Roanoke, Virginia, on June 16th, 1984, Adrian Street defeats Paul Jones by disqualification. Richmond Coliseum, Richmond, Virginia on June 22nd, 1984. Rufus R. Jones, Jimmy Valiant, and Adrian Street defeat the Assassin, Kamala and Paul Jones. At the Stafford Senior High School in Stafford, Virginia on June 23rd, 1984. Adrian Street defeated Brickhouse Brown Township Auditorium, Columbia, South Carolina. July the 3rd, 1984. Adrian Street defeated Assassin number 1. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina television taping on July the 4th, 1984. It's Jimmy Valiant, Adrian Street, and Rufus R. Jones defeating Bobby Bass, Paul Kelly, and Kurt Von Hess. Myrtle Beach again on the same day, on July the 4th, 1984. It's Jimmy Valiant, Adrian Street, and Rufus R. Jones defeating Kamala, the Assassins 1 and 3.
I got to ask the question. How did they turn Adrian Street?
Has something to do with Paul Jones. I did see a part of that on one of the, but it did have to do with Paul Jones. I'm not sure if Paul Jones insulted him. I'm not sure how that transpired. But it did have to do with Paul Jones because, of course, he's wrestling with him.
Okay, I never could find that on YouTube. So maybe if somebody knows about it, leave us a comment.
I think it's through just interviews. Paul Jones had derogatory remarks to say about Adrian.
Okay.
I'm kind of thinking that's the way.
Well, if somebody knows, if you know for sure, leave us a comment.
Because at the same time, it was a match, Jimmy Valiant and Adrian Street from the arenas. The match ended and Paul Jones, the Assassins, came in, and it ended up with Jimmy Valiant and Adrian Street battling Paul Jones and the Assassins. And so I guess that worked. And then Adrian came back on television and said that he would team with Jimmy Valiant, that what would he call him, a toss pot Jimmy Valiant, and against Paul Jones and the Assassins. 1 and 3, by the way.
Yeah, number 3 was who? Hercules Hernandez.
Yes. All right, so we come up on July the 8th, 1984, Asheville Civic Center, Asheville, North Carolina. The Assassins defeated Buzz Sawyer and Adrian Street, Memorial Auditorium, Greenville, South Carolina on July the 9th, 1984. Dusty Rhodes, Jimmy Valiant, and Adrian Street defeated Paul Jones and the Assassins. Township Auditorium, Columbia, South Carolina on July the 10th, 1984. It's William McDaniel, Jimmy Valiant, Adrian Street defeating Paul Jones and the Assassin. Cumberland County Memorial Auditorium, Fayetteville, North Carolina on July the 16th, 1984. The Assassins defeat Wahoo McDaniel and Adrian Street. You have to be careful about adding that S on it.
Yes, you do. You make some people
Sumter County Exhibition Center, Sumter, South Carolina on July the 19th, 1984. Adrian Street, Rufus R. Jones, and Pez Watley defeated Paul Jones and the Assassins. Greenwood Civic Center, Greenwood, South Carolina, July the 25th, 1984. Is Adrian Street of the Junkyard Dog versus the Assassins, winners unknown. Norfolk Scope in Norfolk, Virginia on August the 2nd, 1984. Assassin number 3 defeated Adrian Street. Richmond Coliseum, Richmond, Virginia on the August the 17th, 1984. James J. Dillon defeated Adrian Street. Adrian and Linda would then make their way to Mid-South Wrestling.
I wonder if that was a loser leave town match between.
It was a loser leave town match. Adrian came back as Mrs. Adrian Street in a mask. Everybody does it. If you lose a loser leave town, you come back in a mask. It doesn't matter where you. It's the Yellow Dog, Barry Windham, Midnight Rider, Dusty, Bill Watts.
Adrian Street would go to Mid-South Wrestling next. Not for sure they used Adrian Street as good as they could have. They don't think he was used as good in Mid-South Wrestling as he was in the rest of the territories that he had been to prior to that. Evidently, Dusty Rhodes liked Adrian Street, took him from Florida, brought him to North Carolina, almost did the same exact thing with him there. So Dusty Rhodes must have liked him. Because, somebody said that Dusty Rhodes had a problem with him. Well, I don't see why he did, because he took him to 2 different places back to back, so that he was taking care of the booking. If you enjoyed this video, give us the big thumbs up. Subscribe to the page if you haven't already. Go one step further. Hit that notification bell.
Yeah, I did it.
I'll stop him. I remember Dad would do this, and he'd And he'd look at his finger because the guy wouldn't, like, it's just not working. Share the video as well, and we'll see you on the next video right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.